Everyone has some sort of a closet that's become too small. A closet is no place to live, and I want to support as many people as I can in stepping out of that prison into the fullness of life that's waiting for them on the other side of that closet door. I'm Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching. Join me in listening to these Coming Out Chronicles. Get curious about your story, and then see what good things are waiting for you on the other side of your closet door. Welcome. I'm so happy to have you on here. It's been a long time, and I'm excited to hear what's transpired in your life and hear what the nature of your coming out story is that you want to share with us. So start with telling us about kind of the scene surrounding your coming out story that you want to share with us today.
Well, I guess the scene was, I remember specifically, I was at a hotel with a couple of friends. We were smoking and drinking a little bit. And I had changed on my MySpace that I was bi.
Okay. What year was this?
This was when I first came back to the States. I would say like 2007 or 8 maybe.
Okay.
And then there was a nosy missionary
Yeah.
who, and I don't even like, MySpace was cool then, I guess. But I changed to bi or whatever. And a nosy missionary, I remember, called my mom or texted my mom and, said something. I don't know exactly what she said. I know the missionary that it was, though. And then I guess I forget if I called my mom or if my mom called me. And then she just asked if it was a phase. She never dismissed, what was going on, but I thought like, oh, bi is like in the middle, for now until I can kind of figure things out, and then we'll go further. But I guess that's how but I do remember talking to my mom on the phone about it slightly. But like that's kind of how it was open to my parents. But for like my friends at RVA, I remember it was a 2-year, you go back every 2 years for your little reunion after graduation, even though I didn't graduate from RVA. And we
tell people first what RVA is.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rafeli Academy. Boarding school in Kajabi, Kenya.
Nice.
I went there from 4th grade up until 10th grade, and then I finished up at ISK. So after 2 years, there's a tradition. You go back with your classmates that you graduated with to the beach to hang out after alumni. So we went to alumni, we went down to the beach. I remember we were at 40 Thieves on Diani Beach. And I had a group of my good friends there, and I'm like, you guys, I need to tell you something. I'm like, hey, I'm gay. And they're like, okay, we knew. Okay. And then we proceeded as if, and I felt like a weight was lifted, but at the same time, like I was like, oh, this is perfectly okay. These are my friends, and I've told them, and hey, I have nothing to worry about now. So
cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool.
That's amazing that a bunch of missionary kids mostly were so cool with that.
Yeah, maybe it was the group of friends that I had
were
maybe a little bit more chill than some of the other ones.
But right.
Yeah, so like that's my school side, and then my family side, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I would say that I haven't kept in touch as much with my RVA friends because I didn't graduate with them. I came back to Canada a couple of years before grad, and so I didn't have as much connection, and so I haven't necessarily come out to all of them. I've been a little bit scared for some of them because I don't know how they would take it.
No, but for sure.
I'm sure that if they see me on Facebook, they probably know that I've come out by now, seeing my wife and 2 kids. But that's so cool to hear that it went well for you.
The thing is, too, so I heard this Karamo of Queer Eye. He said something really cool, which kind of stuck with me. And he talked about, I didn't read his book, but I just heard him like in interviews and stuff, that it's about letting people in and it's not about coming out. And I'm like, you know what, that is so cool, because growing up overseas as a missionary kid, like, and they're nosing missionaries, you know what I mean? I don't need to let everyone know, but like there's certain people that I feel like I want them to know a part of me, and so I'll let them in, you know what I mean? But I feel like I don't need to tell everyone, You know what I mean? But I'll let people in to know what's going on in my life if they ask, for sure. So that's how I like to look at it.
Totally. Yeah. And I think maybe Karamo said as well, like, go into it with the assumption that people are going to be okay with it and that people are going to receive you. And when you
Right.
put out that energy, you get that back often.
Yeah. So it was good.
That's cool. Was there any aspects of your coming out journey that felt hard or you
I feel
had
like my
challenges
dad,
with?
my dad. So this is how I came out to my dad, because my mom, I guess my mom and my dad are separate when it comes to stuff like that. So like this is how I told my dad. There's a book I got him for Christmas, and it's like, I love you, Dad, and here's why. And it's like, oh, it's like a fill in. He likes that kind of stuff. Fill in the blanks. Like, I love when you do this. I love when you do this. Blah 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 blah. And the last page, it's like, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but I don't know how. So I was like, I'm gay and I'm going to marry a woman. I would like you to walk me down the aisle. So I told my mom I was going to fill this book out. So she was super excited. And so my dad likes his car clean. So I cleaned out his car for him and I put the book in the glove compartment. Right. And then, because I got it from for Christmas, but then I didn't fill it out for like months. And he's like, fill out the book, fill out the book. I'm like, I'll fill out the book. So I finally filled out the book. I put it in there and I told my mom, so I told my mom what I was going to do. I put it in there. And I guess my mom, she's like, Michael, go and check your glove compartment. But like, I wasn't ready to tell him to check the glove compartment.
Right.
So he read it, but he didn't say anything. My uncle was coming to town, his brother. It was for a holiday. And it was in the summertime. So whichever holidays are around that time. And we were sitting out in the back and he's like, hey, your dad told me about, the book you got him. I'm like, okay. My uncle's real chill. Like, we're really, really close. And, he told me about the book and what you said. My uncle looked at him and said, if you don't walk her down the aisle, then I will. And, like, right at that moment, I was like, oh, I'm covered. Like, I'm cool. Like, It was like another sense of, like, stress or weight was lifted, because, hey, I mean, he told my dad how it is. And, like, if you're not going to accept her or do the things that you want, then. So, yeah, that's it. That was the coming out. And then I guess it's been a progression ever since then. You know what I mean? Like.
So your dad was okay with walking you down the aisle?
Well, no, I mean, he never answered. So that's when my uncle said that. And then ever since then with my dad, it's been kind of like he knows, but he doesn't acknowledge. Right. So like I'll bring partners over or whatever. And he knows who they are, but he never acknowledges or things like that. So yeah, it's been a very interesting couple of years, I guess.
And you haven't married your partner yet, or have you?
Oh, no, we're not married.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he hasn't had to walk you down the aisle yet?
Exactly, not yet. But when the time comes, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the army. Were you in the army too?
I was in the army.
Yeah, what was that like with being queer?
So it was Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I actually got repealed while I was in Afghanistan. And I remember because there was a few of my gay friends that I knew were in the military. So I went on Amazon and bought a bunch of rainbow flags. It's my cat. A bunch of rainbow flags to give them, when Obama passed it. So like that was really cool. But my unit, I guess, we knew within each other, but it's not something that we displayed or. Sorry. So yeah, we didn't really talk about it. We had a small group that knew, but then when it was passed, we were, hey, we're gay, It was cool. Yeah.
But you didn't face any discrimination or anything?
No, I didn't face any discrimination. No.
That's awesome.
Have you ever watched the movie For the Bible Tells Me So?
I don't think so.
It's really good. And that's something else that I watched that helped me as well.
How did it help?
Christianity Perspective. I think it's on Netflix, or was it on Netflix? But just like the religious side of being gay and I know it's really powerful because growing up overseas, missionaries, Christian family, that's always looked down upon and it's not
Hmm.
accepted. But then I feel like when I watched that movie, I was like, oh, you can do both, you know what I mean? Or I am loved by God. So it was very interesting to see that side of it. So,
Yeah. I think that's so key to realize like
yeah.
you don't have to divorce your spirituality in order to embrace your sexuality.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That was so important for me too in my coming out journey of like seeing faithful, wise Christian women in my church and seeing like, oh, they're respected in this
Yeah,
community and you can have both. And I
right.
think, yeah, that's a big part of what I want to convey to the world too, that it's a matter of getting clear on your essence of like how you're connected to the divine personally,
Right.
and how no one else has a bearing on your sexuality or your spirituality, and you get to have that.
Yeah, I remember people saying like it's not about religion, it's about relationship. So I feel like it's the relationship that you have also.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like even people who, are missionaries or, who claim to love God, like I look and see their, how they conduct themselves. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting, but yeah.
Your brother made an interesting post today on that Facebook group that we're in
Mm,
about how your family was a black family at a Christian missionary boarding school in Kenya
yeah,
with only white staff. And well, there were Kenyan support staff, like
right.
basically second class kind of thing. And he said as if they couldn't even find 5 Kenyan teachers that were qualified to come and work here. And I was like, whoa, truth bomb. So what was that like for you of growing up
Yeah,
there?
so my family, we are the only Black American missionaries within our family. Um, when we first moved to Ten Lake, which is it was 5 hours on the bumpy roads from Nairobi, um, that we had to hide when they had culture clashes, or you know what I mean, because we were Black Americans. It was difficult, and people. So when we first moved there, I said something very crazy. I said, "Mom, if we're in Africa, then why are all these white people here?" And like that, everyone in my mission family knows that statement. But it was shocking, like here we are in Africa. But even amongst our missions, it was white people. You go to RVA, from the
Mm-hmm.
top down, it's white people. Yeah, there were black support staff, as you said. People in the kitchen. Uh, yeah, staff. That's
Mm-hmm.
what it was. The support. So, um, I guess I was younger, so I guess I didn't really realize until growing up. But then looking back, and just as you see it on the page, like people are looking back and like, whoa,
Mm-hmm.
things were jacked up there. And then the incident that happened in 2016, reopened, and that's why the page was brought. The cultural dialogue page was brought up because of what's been going on. But then, as people get older,
I
and
I don't know what went on in 2016. Do you want to give me a brief synopsis?
so something similar, something that happened was there's 2 white students who, what were those things called when we go to the gym and it was like dress up or like carnival nights or something like that. Well, 2 white students, and I don't know the complete story, but it was 2 white students um, were acting as slave owners to a black student, and it got tweeted and it
Wow.
hit the U.S. Um, yeah, and that's how the cultural page became.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
things
they
simmered down, and then it's been reopened because they asked for the statement from RVA, and they're like, that statement is
weak.
yeah. So yeah, and then it's just been, and then whoever the person is silencing people. So, but that's what happened, and then they opened up the page, to talk about that, to like, hey, who else has had these weird feelings there? That and things you don't feel comfortable to talk about them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a Black American student there. There's other Kenyans and Black students there, you know what I mean? But the majority of students are white. And then it's white staff. No one to deal with any of those type of things, you know what I mean? Yeah, the counselors are great, but did the counselors know how to counsel in those type of areas? No, because they're hoping that these things never would be brought to their attention.
Right.
So, yeah.
What about sexuality there? Did you have an inkling when you were there that you might be gay?
Oh yeah, totally. I had a lot of upperclassmen crushes. But even now, I fear sometimes for people at RVA who are struggling. You know what I mean? Because I feel like RVA is a place you pray the gay away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or send them somewhere. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I made it out. You made it out. You know, a lot of people made it out. But then I'm scared for those who are there and who are struggling and who don't have someone to talk to. You can't go to staff about this. No, maybe your friends, but you can't go to staff. And I think everything's heavily monitored. Instagram, Facebook, you know, everything's heavily monitored. So, but yeah, I knew when I was at RVA.
But you didn't have anyone like staff wise or adult wise that you could talk it through with.
No.
What would your advice be to a kid at RVA now that is like, I think I might be gay, but I don't know what to do about this?
Well, hopefully, if this page becomes of something, I told people that if people want to reach out, I'm here. You know what I mean? And yeah, I honestly, I don't know. What would you tell them?
That's a good question. Yeah, I would like to be a resource available for them.
Yeah,
like I went back as a staff, and so I've had the experience of being both a student there and a staff there, and I would like to be a resource to kids that have this wondering and don't know who they can talk to about it. And I would say, yeah, reach out. Like, let me journey with you. Let me support your family in this, because it's super scary for conservative Christian families to know what to do with that.
Yeah, that's my only fear, like, for them right now. Think about it. You get a small school and dorms with all girls and a female dorm mom. You know, like, the more I've been thinking about it a lot because this has been coming up, and I'm like, oh, that's tough.
And super strict dating rules, so it's very good breeding grounds for queerness.
Right. You'll have a roommate.
You can just start living with your roommate, your lover from whatever grade you want.
Right. No, totally. Yeah.
No, I often thought about that at like Christian boarding school for college too, that, you know, like being in dorms, and there's some tight relationships that happened. And in some ways it's beautiful for people to explore, but also it's hard when it's such a like top down authority saying like, this is wrong, you can't do this. Then there's not healthy ways of exploring it for yourself.
Exactly. That's why I feel like too at RVA, you're always told no, 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 no. So as soon as people left, they just went to the extreme.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, no smoking, no drinking, no sex, right? And then people having babies, you know, getting DUIs, whatever. Like, it just told no, no, no all the time. There's no, like, slowly, like, hey, try this out. You know, you're going to go to college. You know what I mean? Like, straight from RVA to a college, are you?
There's so much freedom in some ways.
So much freedom. Yeah, no, absolutely. So.
Yeah, you're right. Like, they're not necessarily teaching them how to discern for themselves or think wisely. It's just, this is the rules.
Right. I think there was something, it was called reintegration or something that they had, but
a weekend's not going to cut it.
No, it's not at all.
But I also get it from the other side too, that like as a staff, you have parents sending their kids there with all different kinds of standards, all different kinds of values that some are super narrow in what they want their kids to be allowed to do, and some have a more laid back approach. And so it's super hard as a staff too to know how to do it well and wisely.
It's crazy to think back now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Can you speak to anything that's going on right now in the States with all of the Black Lives Matter? How is that affecting you or not affecting you?
Just I went to a protest in Philadelphia and it was very great. I went with my girlfriend, my sister, met up with a couple of friends down there. It was very powerful. But then it also it's very hesitant. Like, okay, what are the allies going to continue to do? Right? Is it just like while we were marching, uh, there was someone speaking like, don't use this to like your Instagram or your Facebook. Like, don't use this, to get your likes on Facebook. Like, this is serious stuff. You know what I mean? So like, my concern is if it fizzles out, or what happened if it fizzles out. And we hope it doesn't fizzle out, because back, there's been many killings, and then there's been hype, and then there's been a fizzle out.
Yeah.
This one, I feel like I don't see the fizzle anytime soon, but of course, anything can fizzle out.
Yeah.
Being affected, no, I just reflect back on my time being a missionary. Like I said, I was young, you know what I mean? But I know I spoke to my mom and my sister, and we, discussed different things. There have been a missionary posted something, and usually, like, I'm not one on social media to go in on someone, but I had to go in on her. I'm like, what? This, like, what's going on here? And then it makes me think like, oh, you're my family, you're my mission family, right? But these are the things. This is what you're thinking in your mind. Same within the military. You know what I mean? When you go overseas, they'll protect you. You know what I mean? But then you come back here, and then you see things that people post. You're like, wait a second. But you were gonna save my life, or not really gonna save it. It's very, it's questionable sometimes. So, yeah.
Do you ever fear for your life?
I don't know if I fear for my life, but I know there's sometimes, well, I guess it could be fear. So I'm a flight attendant now, and I work out of Philadelphia, and I fly sometimes. When we fly, we're smaller, wholly owned, and we fly into smaller places down south. And so it's sad to think that I'm waiting for the time that a passenger, says something to me that will bring offense to me. But I feel like it's coming. And I feel like, especially with what's going on and the pandemic and everything that's going on, everyone's, their nerves are shot.
Yeah.
It's a crazy mix. And then this, so yeah, I feel like sometimes going out, I go off my crew, there's 3 of us, but it's usually like myself as a Black female, and then 2 white pilots, you know what I mean? And I'm sure people are like, I wonder, what's their story? What are they doing together? But there's sometimes I've definitely felt uncomfortable doing certain things in certain cities. I could say that, yeah.
So one of the last questions I like to ask people is, what's your next coming out story? Because I think that as we grow and evolve, we're constantly changing. We're constantly kind of going into another cocoon, changing, growing, and then we reemerge with this new layer of something that wasn't fitting. Let it go and step into the light of who we are now. Is there anything that comes up for you that you think, I'm working on this?
I feel like I know I'm comfortable with who I am now. Going through my parents, and then there's been certain missionary families that have reached out, right? So like I haven't said anything, but they can tell like via social media, and they'll send me a private message or something like, hey, I love you, I'm proud of you, you know what I mean? So they're not to put it on blast, but no, I'm comfortable where I am. I feel like the coming out story, like for this is something I've never done before with you. to like tell this information about myself or let people in. So I just would be this, and you know, to continue to let people in who might ask that, you know, didn't know what's going on with my life, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool to be letting more people in on your story, letting yourself be more visible, because
Yeah.
I think the more that you're able to tell your story and show the aspect where you're proud of who you are and the grateful for the life that you have now, it offers so much hope to people that, you know, maybe those kids at RVA that are in the closet very deeply and
No, totally.
don't know.
That's I definitely want to be a resource for them because
Yeah.
I was there. I
Yeah.
lived it, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not
Imagine if you were a kid like that and you heard this kind of a story and you're like, oh, it can turn out beautiful. Okay.
right.
Not so scary.
Yeah, totally. So we'll see.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having this was good. I needed to do this, I feel like, for myself and
Mm-hmm.
let some more people in. So
If someone heard your story and really wanted to connect with you, what would be the best way for them to connect with you? Are you open to that?
yeah, social media, my phone number, email.
Thanks for listening to the Coming Out Chronicles. If you enjoyed it, give it a like. And if you think it would be helpful for someone else, please share it with them. If you'd like to connect with me, reach out on social. I'd love to support you on the next chapter of your coming out story. Until next time, this is Nancy Shadlock from Centered Life Coaching.